Hey guys, I just want to give and gals, I just want to give a quick little blurb. I just finished Dance of Dragons last night. Now shot, I thought that shit was just so awesome. It was a bit of a slog to get through, to be honest. There was a lot of kind of setting stuff up, and I kind of certain chapters felt like it was kind of a drag. But when I finished, it really just kind of all came together. And I just wanted to do a few minutes, just kind of off the top of my head. A couple of the points, not definitive by any means, like I could do anything definitively, but just what I loved about it so much. And a few of the points that I feel like he hit on philosophically that I really loved. Um, One of them that I thought was very unique, that aren't really hit on a lot of other places with that love is folly. So much about our modern society and just what we are expected to achieve in our lives, that we're supposed to find true love and follow it, and forget everything else and not try and be sensible. And so much of that is called into question. And it's not so much that like love isn't a real thing and that we shouldn't follow with all of our heart, but that it's just naivete is kind of expected of us in modern society. And it was a really interesting theme throughout the books that whenever somebody followed their heart without thinking about their brain, that misfortune would inevitably follow. And I just thought it was a really interesting counterpoint to so much of the other. I mean, not even popular culture. Like, the Forever War is a great example. Uh, and there's, of like science fiction and, geez, God, what's it called? I don't know, Heinlein books, Asimov books. I mean, there are, all this great traditional fantasy and science fiction that is very romantic in nature. And I felt like George R. R. Martin bringing it back and kind of being a counterpoint to all of that was really interesting. Because, I mean, obviously, human existence isn't all one thing or all the other. It's not all romance and no intellect, and it's not all intellect and no romance. But I mean, so much of our popular fiction and our popular culture is so romantic that I thought it was really interesting that he repeatedly, over and over again, comes back to the point that, hey, you know what I mean? Uh, Romance isn't all about heart. Sometimes you really need to sit back and think about this stuff rationally, like how is stuff going to work out? And you know, this is just off the top of my head, but thinking about the the extremely high incidence nowadays of divorce and single parenthood, that maybe this is something we as a culture kind of need to consider a little bit more. Next point is redemption. So much I feel like of modern culture, we feel like a personality is who you are, and and people don't change. And while in so many ways I feel like that is very true, that human nature doesn't change, and that once you're born, you kind of are who you are, and in a lot of ways that is correct. But I also feel like that past actions don't definitively define who you are as a person. So you so even though people might not necessarily at their core change, that their past actions don't definitively define who they are as a person, and that you can do horrible things and be a bad person and make mistakes, but you can learn to hone your behavior to more accurately define who you are as a person, or maybe even perhaps just over time, the collection of your actions more accurately define who you are as a person. And that, temporality is a bit of an illusion, not to get too out there esoterically, philosophically. But, I mean, we are the collection of our actions, but you can't let yourself to be defined by what your initial actions are, and that every life is a journey, and you have to think of yourself as you go along, and you can't only define yourself by what you do in later life, and you can't only define yourself what you do in the early life, and we're just as a collection. And I feel like that is also a theme he hits on repeatedly, and how, you know, people change over time, that they make mistakes, people are fallible, and almost everybody is, but we can improve on ourselves, even though maybe we in our nature don't change fundamentally. We learn how to act more properly in relation to the outside world. um, and a third theme, I'm just going to try to keep this somewhat short, but the third theme that I want to hit on in this video is that perception is nothing, and that it is how about so many of the really dynamic, interesting characters in the books just do not give a shit what other people around them think about them. And I'm not even talking about like the evil characters like Cersei. I mean, actually, it's interesting. Cersei cares more than anybody what people care about her, think about her, and she is like one of the most like morally reprehensible people in the book. Whereas the Hound and Jaime Lannister, they care the least like what people think about them. And another to add into Cersei, even though I should, is Ned Stark. I mean, he cares kind of a lot what people think about him. He's constantly going on about like, oh, I should be the one to do the execution because that is my stature, and that's what people, or that's my station, and it's all about appearances, and that's what is the right thing to do, and then he tries to do the honorable thing, and it ends up like hurting all these people because he could have done something a lot more strategic. um, but then you have these characters who, like, in the end, turn out to be very effective, actually good-hearted people, even though they've done horrible things in the past, which, you know, goes to my second point, but I'll try not to loop back too hard onto that. But like, they don't care about what other people think of them. And there's this constant theme that goes through, which is about how people consistently think very poorly of them and their character, but they just don't give a shit, and they accept it, and they let it become part of their life and their perception and who they are. And you know, and in this world of Westeros, like, perception and your reputation is like a huge thing, right? But so they let it become part of their life, but they don't let it overwhelm them, and they go out and they do good stuff anyway behind everyone's backs. And I think that's like a really important life lesson. It's how it's not so important what people think about us and people's perception. It's about what we do and who we are inside. And yeah, I don't know. Food for thought. Hopefully, I'll have a lot more to say about these novels, because I mean, those 5,000 pages were amazing, and I just finished them, so I'm just like kind of putting together my thoughts about everything that happened. But that's just kind of some initial uh, thoughts about the themes that went throughout the books. All right, thanks.